Welcome back, Commander. Though it may not know it yet, the galaxy is under threat. And to combat this threat, two idiots must... Damn it, are we committing a war crime? The game is Mass Effect, and this is the N7 Project.
Status report.
Yeah, so starting off with our status report. How are things going for you, Zach?
Going really well. Last night I got to play in a D&D game for the first time in a while.
Oh yeah, that's got to be a long time for you to actually have been a player, not a GM.
Yeah, it turns out my brother-in-law is a big D&D fan and has a campaign that he's been sitting on for the past several years that he wanted to run for someone. So Jess, myself, and his wife all played as characters in that campaign and really enjoying it. He's got a great DMing style. So
cool.
Looking forward to more of it.
Yeah, there's something very liberating about just being a player instead of having to like. I love DMing and GMing for games because you get to do a lot of world building and a lot of character creation and stuff. It's really fun. But man, being able to just like show up and then like just be one character is like very luxurious is maybe the way I'd put it. Like you're not working quite so hard.
Yeah, and you can just kind of sink into being someone else. And the other thing that was really cool, and no offense to anyone I've played with in the past, but everyone was role playing.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I had a similar experience with the first time I started playing with people who did actual play podcasts.
Uh-huh.
All these people who like take it super seriously.
Yeah.
And like walking into in this case, not a room, walking into a voice chat with a bunch of people who are like, they're all at 100% and like putting the effort into role playing is a really special feeling for sure.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Of course, the system can really discourage or encourage that as well. I think like D&D especially kind of maybe fights you a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Probably not 5th edition D&D is probably not as bad as Pathfinder, which we used to play, where like to role play in Pathfinder, you really are like, you're doing all of the work yourself and the system's not helping you at all because it's all mechanics as opposed to something like Masks, which gives you tools to help you with the role playing as well.
Yeah. I think it helps during like our 4 hours of play. Like I think I rolled 6 times.
Yeah. But I mean, like that doesn't that say something along the lines of like D&D isn't helping you play the game anymore? Like at that point, like you're all so invested into the story and the characters that like the fact that you were not engaging with the mechanics that the system brought to the table says something about whether or not that system was really providing those things. Like you guys were all bringing that to the table. The players were bringing it as opposed to the system that was bringing all those things. So
sure. I think like mechanically, I don't think the system contributed much. I mean, it definitely the setting, Faerun, is something that everyone there is very, very familiar with. So we were able to just kind of get into it and just kind of vibe on that.
Yeah. I mean, like, and it's a balance and everything like that. And the fact that like, I think D&D's big advantage as a role-playing game is that it's a lingua franca, that like it's so popular that you don't spend a lot of time interfacing with it for a lot of people. Like you guys, all 4 of you could just sit down and kind of start playing because you were all familiar with it and had all played it before. So there wasn't a large amount of learning curve or like getting acclimated to the system. It was something that you could all just come out of nowhere and all just be comfortable in. And exactly. I think that's maybe that's the reason why D&D podcasts and D&D, streams and stuff are so much more popular than everything else, is because people know the system and they don't feel like they're jumping into the deep end on something brand new. But
anyway, how have you been?
I'm doing fine, man. I'm hankering for some all dressed chips.
Okay. What are those?
Okay. So I don't even know how to describe it. Okay. So I think it comes out of Canada. That like they took a bunch of different flavors of potato chips. Like they took salt and vinegar, ketchup, and barbecue chips. And they mix all of the mixings together. And then they put that all on top of potato chips. Mm-hmm. And it's delicious. They're fantastic. And they're the kind of thing that I just used to see in like convenience stores and like at the store and stuff. And then it's like, that is a properly good flavor. Like it's this weird amalgam, but it really, really works. And I think, and I know they're popular in Canada because they keep getting referenced on Letterkenny. Okay, yeah, I totally agree. All dressed chips, fantastic. However, the moment that the Rona showed up, they disappeared. I cannot find anywhere, like to the point where going on various websites and finding various stores that say they have them in stock and going to the store and they're not there because the websites are never accurate. And like, it's getting to the point where I'm like, am I going to have to import some from Canada? Cause I like, they're like properly good. And I'm thinking like, maybe if they are Canadian, maybe like when the global supply chains started to get a little bit short, the Canadians are like, they have the strategic chip reserve where they're like, no, we can't let these go exported. We have to keep them for domestic consumption only.
Well, speaking of excellent snack foods,
okay,
my wife went to Trader Joe's and picked up cacio pepe puffs. Like they're like Cheeto puffs, but like with a cacio pepe flavoring. And we demolished the entire bag in like an hour. So,
okay, Trader Joe's cacio pepe puffs. Okay, so they're, when you say puffs, I mean like kind of like the puffy Cheetos.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. I know exactly what you're talking about in terms of texture then. Okay, cool. I will definitely check those out. Okay. Well, shall we get on to our mission debrief?
Before we do that, I'm getting some feedback. Just not like feedback. I'm just like getting my voice like coming back to me from, I think your
do I have the wrong input selected? It's possible. Let me check here. Nope, don't mute me. Actually, speak. Oh, I'm going to mute myself. You speak.
Okay. Speaking. No, I don't hear myself coming through now. Oh, now.
Okay, so that it must be coming from me. Okay. Fucking Omnicaster selected the wrong mic. Okay.
Oh, there you go.
That should be better now.
Yeah, now you don't sound so echoey.
Yeah, and also now I'm going to be nice and clear because it was using the webcam microphone.
Yeah.
There's a reason when I do these podcasts for Breathing Space, I have a checklist where I run through all of the things, and we're less professional over here. But okay, good. Well, it's a good thing I have a backup recording going because that audio would be completely unusable.
Oh yeah,
up until this point. Well, okay, let's move on to our mission debrief.
Mission debrief.
First of all, the most important question. Actually, I was going to ask you if you save or ditch Ashley, but I know you kill her, so never mind. After the 2 of the other 3 plot worlds are completed, a Solarian reconnaissance team will report to having found information about Saren on a planet called Virmire. But the communication is broken up, and the council would like Shepard to go find out what's up. Fly on over, and in order to avoid being blown out of the sky by some AA towers, Joker drops Shep and their team in the Mako a few miles out. There are some really big crabs on here, and I wonder if they taste good covered in butter. What am I saying? Everything tastes good when covered in butter. The trip over to the STG team isn't much, just blow up a lot of Geth in the Mako and periodically get out of the Mako to shoot more Geth and open some doors and disable some AA guns. You'll make it on over to the Solarian team, who say they have found a facility where Saren is breeding, cloning, something, a whole bunch of new Krogans, because he's like cured the genophage. Rex's little frog ears perk up to this, and he gets really antsy. After you're done getting the skinny from Captain Kirihee, who's got a plan to blow up the place, you need to talk your Krogan buddy off the ledge. If you've got a very high charm or intimidate, or if you've helped Rex get his family armor back, you can talk him into going along with blowing up the facility. But if you fuck it up, either Ashley or Shepard will end up shooting him to death. Or, hilariously, if you don't have enough party members to make up a full party without him, he will stay along as well. And look, isn't Rex kind of right? Like, obviously we can't just like let Saren have an army of Krogan, but aren't we kind of sort of maybe just a little bit committing a war crime here? I'm not sure the devs have really thought through the morality of, genocide. Anyway, well, no time to waste now. Captain Kirihee says that he needs our help from one of your humans. He's very specifically wants either Caden or Ashley, not one of the aliens. And this isn't suspiciously setting up a whole who dies choice at all. No. Remember to send whomever you like better with Kirihee. Kirihee gives a rousing speech in which he tells his men to hold the line and will love him forever for it. After that, it's on to the assault. Shep fights their way through waves of more Geth, depending on if you want Kirihee to live or not. You disable some comms jammers and some flyers, and maybe don't send an army of angry Krovans over to their side of the facility to kill them. Once you're inside the facility, you'll probably find some of the captured Solarians who are definitely indoctrinated, and if you let them out, they will try to kill you. But if you don't let them out, they're going to get blown up by a nuclear bomb, so it doesn't really matter that much. You'll find some science rooms and even a Krogan scientist or two. No, not that one. He's in the next game. Eventually, you run into an Asari named Rana Thapnoptis, who's like just trying to do her job and did not sign up for this. She'll let you past, and you can decide whether or not you kill her. Heading into the room that she was guarding, you'll find another Prothean beacon, which gives Shep more visions of goopy meat. Then after, a baritone hologram will show up, and holy shit, that's Sovereign. He's not just some ship, he's a Reaper. He'll tell you that organic life is worthless and far below him and his kind, and reveal that the mass relay network was created by long before the Protheans. Instead, it's a trap set by the Reapers to guide bionic life's advancement along a path that make them easily wiped out in a cycle that has gone on for longer than anyone remembers. Well, with that heavy shit out of the way, let's go set off a nuke. You get to the site where the Normandy drops off the nuke, and you can get a call from Kira. He and his team, they're pinned down and won't be able to make the rendezvous. Well, we won't let that stand. Caden or Ashley, whoever isn't with the STG team, will stay back to arm the bomb while Shep goes to help them. But as you're rounding off, they get overrun the bomb site, and the left team member says that they're arming the bomb and it will make sure it goes off. You're faced with a choice of which team to go with. Teammate 1 over with the STG team, or Teammate 2 over at the bomb. Pick whomever, and either way, you end up fighting Saren, who's riding a green goblin flyer thing. You save one team member and lose the other and fly off. Back on the Normandy, Liar reveals that the new beacon revealed the location of the conduit and possibly your final confrontation with Saren, Ilos.
Alrighty. So I know I killed off Ashley. I'm assuming you killed off Caden?
Nope, I killed Ashley this time because my guiding principle so far with this playthrough is that I'm trying to see content that I would normally not see, which is why I'm running Renegade.
Gotcha.
So I almost always save Ashley, and I never ever take Caden into the later games. So I was like, well, I guess I've got to bring Caden along, so at least I can see him Mass Effect 2 and 3, because I guess it sucks. So I guess this is the end of my Ashley apologism from here on out. I'm not going to have a lot more content with her. First off, let's take the 10,000 foot view. How do you view Virmire in terms of like ME1 missions? Like, is this one of the betters or one of the worst?
This is probably my favorite mission of Mass Effect 1.
Okay.
For one, it has probably the best Mako section.
Yes.
And like that whole scene is just very memorable to me. Like when I think of Mass Effect 1, that's always one of the areas that kind of like brings back me like, and I mean, it's one of the best because the Mako sections are all completely flat.
Yes. There's no elevation. I have to say, I really like the environment of Virmire.
Oh yeah.
That coastal, rocky inlet, lots of small islands, driving through like 1 foot of water. Like that is just beautiful. I really like. I want to go live there. Like it's just something about Virmire like seems really cool. And then when you are walking through the fortress, and the fortress is like right up against the waves, like it's on the coastline, and you've got water like right up to, like I don't know, something about it just like totally like hits my aesthetic button, and I'm like, yeah, I just like this. This is really cool.
Oh, yeah, this is absolutely visually one of the coolest parts of Mass Effect 1.
Yeah.
And just driving through endless waves of Geth and giant crabs.
I like the fact that they, I'm not sure they've done this on all of the story planets, but I like this is one of the places where they'll put in some extra alien life, right? Yeah. Where you've got those crabs, which makes you feel like you're not just on Earth a little bit, which is really nice.
Aren't they basically just like mobile terrain chunks?
I mean, kind of, yeah. They're not like super detailed, but for handling for giving you the sense of it being a coastal tropical area on an alien planet, it really works. And then, I mean, I think we're both on record already as really liking Kira He.
Oh yeah, Kira He's great.
Yeah. He shows up and you're like, I remember first time seeing it being like, who is this guy? And I don't even remember, I guess the very first time I played, I might not have remembered being told to go to Ilis, because I was kind of like, what's going on? What? Like, I just felt very confused at that point. But I love the fact that he's like, okay, we just need to bunker down and wait for reinforcements. And Shepard's like, no, where are the reinforcements? And he's just like, oh, fucking hell. Like, stupid fucking council didn't actually like, no, we already did the reconnaissance. We already know what kind of fucking weird shit's going on here. We're supposed to fucking take out Saren now.
God, yeah. It really just kind of gives you a much clearer insight into council politics and just the general level of incompetence.
I like that we're not the only person in the world who thinks the council's useless. And then I like the fact that we had the discussion with we're going to save the discussion about the genophage and the cure for that, I think for Shadowberg Files, because that wraps up with some stuff later. But I do like the discussion with Rex. I felt like that was a pretty reasonable character moment for him, that like he has already well established that was something he cared about. And like, it's like, if you have discussions with him, like he took a political stance on Tuchanka, and was banished for it essentially. And like the fact that this is sort of a deep-seated belief is well established. And so the fact that you have to talk him down off the ledge is really good.
And I think if you hadn't really like spent much time talking to your teammates, I think this probably would have come a little out of left field for you. I mean, it's still understandable, but like you wouldn't have that insight into like, you know, the steps he's taking to kind of try and save his people, and then like kind of giving up on it a little bit. Yeah. And then finally like being presented with an option, like, and then having to choose against it. I
remember early in one of my early playthroughs thinking that there was going to be an option to like get the cure from Saren's facility during that thing. I was like, it seemed like that was the compromise that was going to happen.
Yeah.
And that's not available in this game. So unfortunately, but it seemed like an obvious thing that just didn't end up happening. I will say I was surprised when I was playing probably my second or third time through. And that was one of the like, I was doing like just a bare minimum blow through everything version where I was just like, dun, like don't do any completionist stuff. So I hadn't done the companion quest, and I didn't manage to talk him out, and like Ashley just shoots him. I was like, whoa, wait a second, guys. That was unexpected.
Yeah. So I think one of the missed opportunities with I guess we'll talk about this a bit more in the Shadow Files. So
yeah, all the Genophage stuff we're going to have to come back to because I don't know if the fact that we have to put it in Shadow Files is itself a spoiler, but we have to put it in Shadow Files, guys. That's why we're not talking about it.
That's classified.
Yeah, it's classified. So then you go through and you blow through the rest of these Geth and Krogan guys. I like the fact that there are small tasks for you to do along the way as you're fighting your way in, where you're knocking out communications facilities, and you have to go make sure you go a little bit out of your way to get the Geth flyers and stuff like that in order to give you a chance to save the STG team is nice.
Well, it's not actually timed. Like just having that radio chatter coming through as you're making through kind of definitely adds a sense of urgency, which I really appreciated.
Yeah, that's something that they did really right on this particular thing. That the ability for you to have somebody else who's doing something kind of at the same time that you are and feeling like you're part of a larger assault really is good. I really like that.
And the stakes feel higher because you know you've sent one of your team members over to assist that team. And so it feels like my first playthrough, I felt like, you know, any mistakes I made were going to affect Ashley and not necessarily the STG team or Caden, I think the first time I played through.
Yeah. That's a thing there. They use it later in some of the other games as well, but because you've always got almost always have more team members than you can actually have, I feel like that's a mechanic they could have utilized more to good effect, because every time they do it, I like it, where you give a task to one of your other teammates and have them go off on their own and do a thing. I really like whenever they did that. That's fantastic. And this is just a really good example of something when it comes up later, it always works for me then too. So it's kind of the kind of thing where, you know, you could have been utilizing this even more.
Yeah. It's like, why are like, you know, 2 of my 6 squad members just always, you know, back behind on the ship, just hanging out with Joker, like.
And it would be cool if they encouraged you, for example, let's say you're doing a mission where you're interfacing with the Quarians. Well, you send Tali off to hang out with the Quarians, and that encourages you to bring somebody else onto your little personal crew that you wouldn't necessarily normally bring for one reason or other. Would be kind of cool too. That's a pretty minor, again, a little bit of it would be cool if they could, but just the fact that they utilized it here is really good. I think it's one of the reasons why Virmire is such a memorable mission. Yeah. So you end up talking to, so you break your way into the facility. There's there's also the choice about like whether or not you're going to send, you're going to like make some alarms happen on the other side of the facility to send the opponents away, so you have less people to fight, but it'll send them into the face of the STG team, which is kind of cool. Oh, that was it. The STG team. I love that they use the Solarians here. I feel like up until Virmire, the Solarians are like really underutilized as a species, and we don't have enough Solarian characters for the most part. And to see them as like having a very particular kind of specialization, which is that these are the like Delta Force guys, or like the Force Recon guy. Like they drop down into hostile territory and do the little sneaky run through the vent assault guy stuff. It's really cool. I would have thought that they would have made these guys Turians. Like, based on almost everything else they had said in the game world up until this point, I would have expected this to be handled by the Turians, who are otherwise the military guys. And for them to bring the Solarians out was really cool. And I think that says a lot about the Solarians as a whole, and is an important characterization moment for them as a culture.
Yeah, yeah. Like, it does make, like, I think you only ever like encounter Solarians as an enemy when you're rescuing Tali way back in like one of your first missions.
Yeah, they show up occasionally, but a lot less than everybody else. Yeah, for sure.
And if you're not paying attention, it's really easy to miss that they're actually Solarians because they're always wearing helmets. And
yeah. And I think they do better with that in later games, but certainly in ME1, they just aren't using the Solarians to greatest effect. And I like that they show up here. This is the moment when they went from being a species that I didn't really understand to like, this gives me such a good grasp of them as a species and as a culture, which is really cool. Okay, so then you break into the facility and you end up talking to, like, you have an encounter with the indoctrinated Solarians, which is a cool little moment. I think it's not super important. I think you can miss the indoctrinated Solarians as well.
Yeah.
I do remember reloading that particular section a couple of times at one point, trying to figure out if there was a way that I could like succeed at that task, like to get them on the good side as opposed to having them try to attack you. Because that RPGs had told me that there's often a way to win these dialogues, and then there just isn't in this case. But they had well hammered home the idea of indoctrination at this point. So we kind of knew what was going on. And they'll say, like, I remember there's also a couple of named scientists in the like assault areas. Like there's a Krogan who's like got a, like, they didn't just call him Krogan scientist. It's got a dude's name, which is kind of cool. That's one of those things where you can do that's a little bit of effort to name the guy, but that tells you that this is a slightly more important person and like actually a character who might have come down to this planet. So there's like just a tiny little bit of storytelling in there, which I like. I like when they do that kind of stuff. Speaking
of names, the Asari named Ranathanoptis just sounds like a dinosaur.
Yeah, Thanoptis that's got such Greek.
And I'm probably thinking of like ornithopter or something. Or
okay, so it isn't just a Greek word that they brought in. She's the only Google result for Thanoptis. It brings both ornithopter and then also like a little bit of the like it's just got a kind of a Greek feel to it. It feels like it should mean something. But I like that she's just like, God, she just makes bad decisions.
Yeah.
Like she just got hired by him and is like, holy shit, I didn't mean to be in this place at this time.
she just picks the worst employers.
Yeah. So, and she gives you a little bit of information and then is like, here, I'll let you in. It's fine. Just don't shoot me. And you can choose to shoot her or not, I think. Which I like the fact that she's like, you can leave, or Shep's like, you can go and we're going to be setting up a nuke in like 5 minutes. And she's like, holy shit. Well, then why did you it's not going to matter. And she just like fucking books it, which is funny. So, and then you end up in a conversation with Sovereign. You end up in a conversation with Sovereign, which is definitely an oh shit moment in Mass Effect 1. That's the moment when I felt like the scale of the conflict zoomed out a bit, like an order of magnitude more important. It's felt like all of a sudden, because you're like now dealing with not just, Saren is working with the Geth and maybe something called a Reaper in order to attack humanity. But instead is like, no, the Reapers are going to come and wipe out the entire universe. The entire galaxy is going to fall to them. And that's cool.
Yeah. And just they did the villain monologue really well. I feel like it's real easy to go like eye roll with this kind of stuff. But I think, I think here, like they actually sold the threat.
Yeah. And I definitely like that the tag that we got from like the sort of emotional response we get from Sovereign is that he doesn't like organic life. He thinks it's beneath him, but then also that like they did a really good job of making him communicating this is just inevitable. Like this isn't something that we're trying to do. It's something that we've done countless times before and we will do it again and it's just going to happen. And like that felt properly threatening, because there was no question about it in Sovereign's outlook. Like, this is going to happen. You will die. Was defined enough as to be emotionally affecting. I think it really worked.
Yeah.
And just having an opportunity to at least talk to the main villain of the game, really, because that's truthfully what he is. He's the main villain, and get a little bit of interest in his character will help us later when he shows back up. I don't think it's a spoiler to say that Sovereign is later in this game, but now that what had just been a ship and could have been treated like a character in theory now has become sort of grounded and made to feel like a real character that we're going to be dealing with, which is cool.
And that revelation also kind of colors your understanding of Saren a little bit.
Yeah. For sure, the conversation you end up having with Saren when you meet him, and he's like, because I think Rana even talks about how, like, one of the things they were doing was studying the indoctrination, and it's because Saren is aware, at least in some point, about him being indoctrinated and how, like, that has maybe, like, what's the word? That has colored his judgment and maybe something he wants to escape from. Mm-hmm. And that gives you a lot of insight into that character. We want somebody who really, like, maybe didn't actually sign up for this, but is instead really in a bad position.
Yeah. He goes from feeling mastermindy to a little more like a puppet.
Yes. Yeah. He feels a little bit more like he got in over his head and has just been scrabbling along just ahead of an avalanche this whole time now, which is pretty cool. A little bit less mustache twirly villain. And don't get me wrong, I will enjoy a mustache twirling villain as much as anybody else. But I think that giving him a little bit more depth is helpful in his characterization.
You say that, then we got you-know-who in Mass Effect 3.
I'm saying that in the right context, I mean, a mustache twirling villain is great. They don't always need to be complex, but I think in a game series like Mass Effect, they absolutely should be real villains, as opposed to being, we'll fucking get to it. Anyway, and so probably the biggest thing about this particular Virmire is the decision about losing a teammate.
Yes.
Which is, I know it's one of the things, I know that this was affecting the first time it happened. Being forced to lose a teammate is one of those things that happens, in my experience, didn't happen a whole lot before that point. I know it is there. There, obviously Final Fantasy VII, and I think they've been doing that in previous Final Fantasies even and stuff. But, like, to me, it was fairly new. It was one of those things where, like, there's a scripted thing where you have a choice about who you're going to take, and you have to make a choice one way or the other and choose somebody. That being said, and it's good. I like it. I like that they did it. Fucking Caden and Ashley, man. Like, if you were going to make us make this decision, why didn't you put more effort into those characters?
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah, and to echo your earlier point, like this is sort of the first game I can remember, aside from possibly Deus Ex, where it really felt like my choices were affecting the future of my gameplay.
Yep. I just, like, yeah, I love the fact that they had the balls to do it. I actually think it's a really good choice to have you make a choice about killing off one of your teammates and have no good way out of it. I think that thematically that reinforces things that are going to come later in the Mass Effect series about having no good choices and just having to make a hard decision. I think those are all really good thematic things to lay the groundwork for now and to raise the stakes and all of that. But man, why did it have to be Caden and Ashley? Because I don't particularly care about either of them.
Yeah, I wonder if that was by choice. Like, I wonder if there are people who, like, if they had to pick between two of their babies, like, would basically just set the game down out of spite.
I mean, it's possible that they made a conscious decision of, or even an unconscious decision of knowing that story beat was going to come ahead of time, come later, and then looking at your allotment of time and money and saying, well, who are we going to make a companion quest for? Well, we'll do one for Rex, we'll do one for Tali, we'll do one for Garrus. Liara's already got a whole planet about her. well, maybe they had stuff planned for Caden and Ashley, and then they just were like, well, one of those is going to die, so let's not put the effort in, you know? And maybe that was even an unconscious thing of just like, well, why invest story writing effort into a character that may not be around? And which is a stupid decision, because you need to put that there so that it is emotionally affecting the way that we need it to be, you know?
I think the other thing is like maybe from like just kind of looking forward, like having bloat on the number of human characters versus
There's
the number
like, we
of
need to
alien
trim it down.
characters. Yeah.
And there's a very reasonable answer to part of it, which is that Caden and Ashley are basically the only characters. Caden, Ashley, and Tali are the only characters you're absolutely guaranteed to have at this point.
Mhm.
And so, to a certain extent, you has to be one of those three. And I guess they decided not to use Tali because Tali isn't a soldier. So Tali was a teenage runaway in a lot of ways.
Mhm.
But you could choose not to have picked up Rex. You might not have gone to Liara's, to Therum yet to pick up Liara. You could choose not to engage with Garrus. So there are three of the characters they could not have been one of these people. So they didn't want to put any effort into coding things for characters that really might not be there. As an aside, I did not know this, but if you choose to do all of that, if you've only got Rex, Tali, Caden, and Ashley, Rex will not end up getting killed. Like the game just goes, oh crap, you literally will not have enough people if we kill off, because you would only have we don't have enough characters yet. So like literally it will just he'll just agree to it, which I did not know.
After that, like you would be stuck with like whoever you didn't kill on Virmire and Tali.
Yeah. And they're just like, that's not enough characters, I guess.
So I guess the question I have is, does Tali get forced along? Like, I can't remember if you're actually given the opportunity to deny her joining your team or not. Like, I seem to recall that being one of the dialogue choices.
I think you could tell. I thought you could tell. You could say, go F yourself when she gets in. I never would. Is the problem?
Yeah.
But let me double check here. They'll have a thing on.
I couldn't remember if it was just like 3 versions of yes or.
I think it's 3 versions of yes, because the way it's worded in the wiki is Tali then joins the team, not Shepard is given an option to let Tali join. And I'm pretty sure that she has to come along.
Which is
I don't think
kind
I've
of
ever
weird, because after, like at least in Mass Effect 1, because after her little like intro bit, like she's almost entirely plot irrelevant aside from like some little side quest stuff.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, Garrus and Rex specifically has more plot element than Tali does. Garrus doesn't have anything to do with the main plot either, so that makes sense. It's weird that she's forced like that. Maybe that was the decision of somebody at some point in the programming going, oh no, we need to have an extra person here in case for the numbers later on for programming reasons or something like that. We need to make sure we give you at least one alien has to show up so you can do this on Virmire or something like that. But yeah. So I don't think that there's back to the big decision of Virmire, which is Caden versus Ashley. There isn't a right answer. I don't think. I do think that they could have given us more from those characters to make this a harder decision. Like I'd like the fact that one of them, it's possible that one of them could be a romance option for Shepard.
Mm-hmm.
That's really cool that if you had been like sort of working up to that point, you really are deciding between like your girlfriend or just some guy, or your boyfriend or just some girl.
Yeah.
In that sense, it would be kind of interesting if it was. That would be an interesting plot point, is if it was decision between Liara and whoever your other romance option was, where like it could be Liara or Caden, or it could be Liara or Ashley, because then you might have been doing sort of a romance with both of them, because I think that's not the point where you have to say decision-wise who you're doing yet. And then that creates some interesting narrative and emotional baggage to have like decided which one of these girls you're like gonna hang, like you're gonna go with long term. It's that'd be an interesting way to do it. I understand why they couldn't have programmatically done that, because Liara might not be in your party at that point. But that would be an interesting decision. And also, that's how different would the rest? Yeah.
That's kind of a brutal interpretation of fuck, marry, kill. I
wonder, I don't know if they've got a special, It'd be cool. It would be nice if, I don't actually know if they did this, if you're romancing Ashley at that point or Caden at that point, if you decide to let them die, if there would be a special dialogue or something at that point, you know, there'd be a single line of dialogue of like, you know, sorry, we never got to have the, you know, sorry, we never got to bone down or something like that. You know, like, sorry, we never really got to like get to the point of our relationship. You know, that's a big regret. That would be kind of interesting to see in there. I don't know if they do that. I'd be surprised if they didn't, because you haven't gotten to the point where you're gonna sleep with and consummate your relationship with anybody by that point.
I think I remember there being a sort of just like a romance option, like if you saved the one that you were romancing, I couldn't have done, you know, I couldn't have done that to you.
Yeah. Well, there's also like because I know I've heard, I remember, maybe I made this up, but I remember Ashley saying something to the effect of like, you only did this because I'm your girlfriend, and like Caden died because we were in a relationship, and I feel weird about that, which is a neat, like that's an emotional that's an interesting narrative place to be, which is kind of cool. I wish they'd explored that a bit more. Yeah. So I think I wonder if anybody, I know that when Legendary came out, they released some of the stats. Let's see. How many people killed?
I get the feeling things do not go well for our boy kid.
Yeah, I think it is mostly because like honestly, because the population's pretty male of players, and so most of those guys are going to be choosing their. Okay, this isn't exactly the Virmire question, but the survival rate for each squad member is Ashley is ahead of Caden by 53%, and Caden's at 17. So,
oh gosh,
for people, I think getting to the end of the game of Mass Effect 3. So, yeah, that's Caden did not have good representation amongst the population at that point. Again, I'm going to blame that on the demographics of the player base, most of whom are if you're going to choose.
Yeah, I think that is almost solely to blame.
Yeah. If you're going to choose, if you're a horny young gamer man, and you're going to choose between two people, you're going to choose the hot chick to live. But I'm not saying that that's all a lot better, because she's not a great character. She's fine. Anyway.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, moving on from that, we talked a little bit about the fight with Saren, who's, as far as boss fights go, is not one of my favorites. The Legendary Edition is very different.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I remember distinctly that there was a gimmick in the original version, which was that he would fly over these fuel tanks and you'd blow up the fuel tanks. And that did not happen at all in my playthrough. And I think it said so. Let me check on the I think it was there was a section on the there's two different sections for original game versus Legendary Edition. Yeah, they reworked that entire boss fight. Interesting. I understand why that wasn't a particularly fascinating boss fight. That being said, I can't say that the new one was so much better that I noticed that it was better. Just that it was different.
I remember there basically being some Geth that joined the fight. But beyond that, it was just kind of like when you're playing a sniper, like a lot of your game is a point and click adventure.
Yeah. Use gun on man. It's interesting that they went through enough trouble to completely rework this boss fight, but didn't make it more interesting. If anything, it seems like they made it less interesting, because the mechanic of blowing up the fuel things was at least cool. Because like the idea was that he had like a barrier on, I think. Then you had to, you were just not doing very much damage to him until you set off the explosions.
Yeah.
That was at least kind of gimmicky, but it was fine. I mean, it's just an interesting decision that like they chose to make it less interesting. Like that.
I think maybe that it wasn't clearly communicated.
Oh, that it was something that people were just they were missing out on, and so feeling frustrated.
Because I don't remember ever doing that in the first game. Like I don't remember.
Oh, yeah.
Like, okay. I mean, it's been a while since I played Mass Effect 1 prior to this. So
yeah. It's a fine boss fight. I think it's not even my favorite of the like 3 main planets, you know, like or not 3 main, because I guess Therum counts there too. So like between like the Noveria fight, the one on Pharos, the one on Therum. The Therum one is almost like maybe is the only one worse than Saren's, where you're just fighting some random Krogan dude. That's not even really a boss fight. But both Noveria and Pharos felt a lot better than this.
Yeah, I think of these, like Pharos is probably my favorite.
Yeah. I think I'm with you on that one. Yeah.
Yeah, like I feel like they probably could have done, like, I don't know, having Saren flying around on a hoverboard is a bad decision. Like it feels like it just kind of
cheapens the character.
It ruined a lot of his mystique, I guess.
Yes. I would have preferred if he just dropped a Geth armature on us and then walked away. That felt more like the Bond villain that he is, you know, to just drop a big ass, you know, robot on us and then walk away. As opposed to staying and fighting and then running away when we blow him up kind of a lot.
Like
that's
is that hoverboard like standard Spectre gear? Where's ours?
Yeah, it did come out of fucking nowhere, and the timing is perfect for it to have been a reference to the Green Goblin on the Sam Raimi movies, because like it just, I don't know, not one of my favorite decisions. That being said, apparently I was looking at, this is from the art of Mass Effect, I think it was. The original plan was for Saren not to have all of the like Reaper Geth cybernetics to start with, and for that to happen over time. And so if that was the case and you needed to have him show up and face off against Shepard so that he could get blown up, basically, and then get rebuilt into his more like cybernetic form, that makes sense for why they maybe have him show up like that.
If you actually like injured Saren like in this fight, and when you show up later, like he's just cyborgy as hell.
Yeah, that would be cool. It would also make the initial scene with him and Nihilus not quite so obvious that he is like a huge villain, because he comes in looking like a like he just looks incredibly evil from the moment he shows up, and you're like, I wouldn't trust that guy. So there's not really, once you've killed him off, there's not really a whole lot to do. I like one thing that was funny is I remember going back and fighting both versions of the game, because I wanted to see if the only one of the two paths would end up fighting Saren. Like if you, depending on who you go, and they just basically have an almost identical fight, just in a slightly different location, which is a weird way to do it. But yeah, so you drop off or the way I've always played it ever since I found out that this is the way to do it, is that you send the person you want to save with the STG team, and then you go to the STG team so you can pick them up, which I think is the quote unquote correct way to do it, because you end up flying out of there with more people alive.
I don't think that actually matters, because I did.
Really?
Yeah, like I went back to the bomb to save Caden this time, and
Kirahi was on the ship with you?
He was.
How does that work? Because then wouldn't the person with Kirahi's team also be on the ship?
I don't know. I think they, like, you get a little blurb, like you hear basically whoever you left behind like die, and Kirahi's still giving commands and orders as they're evacuating. I think like whoever stays behind with the STG team, like basically like secures their escape.
Huh. I remember distinctly there not being Kirahi at one of my playthroughs. Maybe that's something they changed in the Legendary Edition.
So that actually happens if you don't send the flyer, like if you don't destroy the flyers.
Oh, so it's entirely based off of the flyers or not?
Yes.
Okay, well then forget all of the stuff I said about sending the person you like with Kirahi. Although, frankly, that makes so little sense to me that, like,
I agree. Yeah.
It's like you're going to pick up the STG team. That's why you leave the bomb site area. Like, and they get picked up anyway. Yeah, that's lame. It should be harder to save those guys. I was convinced it was the other way. But that's fucking stupid. Okay. You end up, okay, so yeah, you have another little scene talking to Liara, where she, does the Embrace Eternity thing with you again, and we finally interpret the visions sufficiently enough to learn that it is Ilos. Although it's possible that maybe that scene doesn't work out exactly the same way if you haven't, like, picked up Liara, for example. Now I kind of want to try, and I don't have the time to do this, but it'd be kind of interesting to see where those scenes are different by picking, like, if Liara is the last thing you do, does she just like, she's like, oh shit, you got all kinds of crap in your head now. That'd be fun. Yeah, and then you're flying off, and the next thing's off to Ilos. So do you report back to the council when you're at the end of these missions?
I'm trying to. I can't remember if we just blew them off this time or not.
Yeah. It seems like blowing them off
we
is the
did.
right way to,
Yeah.
Seems the in-character thing to do. Yeah, so we're off to Ilos. Now, we won't, for those of you who don't listen to the later sections, we probably won't be on Ilos next episode because we still have a couple of side missions to wrap up before we hit the end game, which is when we're going to start on Ilos.
That's right.
I think we've talked about all the stuff we can talk about without getting into Shadow Broker Files. So let's move on to Shadow Broker Files.
All right, Shadow Broker Files.
Shadow Broker Files.
So before we get into the heavy stuff, let's talk about Rana Thanoptis, who is she shows back up both in Mass Effect 2 and a little bit in 3. She's mentioned offhand in 3.
Mm-hmm.
So when you go find Okir, who is once again breeding or cloning tons and tons of Krogan, you'll find her. If she survives, she'll be having work for. She'll be end up being work for Okir in a sort of like, God damn it! How do you pick like the worst people to associate with Rana? Like,
yeah, she ends up. And I love it. She's like, "Oh fuck you again."
Oh, God damn it. Okay, I know how this works. You can go, and I'm just going to leave.
I forget what she does in Mass Effect 3.
She shows up, or she's mentioned offhand, in an ANN report on indoctrination. She has apparently murdered several Tapasari military officials and then committed, oh, geez. Yeah, so apparently she was fully indoctrinated and is a sleeper agent, I guess.
Oh, yeah.
I wonder if you can kill her in 2 then, because I let her live. Yeah, I wonder if I can kill her. I'll try killing her in 2 if I can, to see if I can prevent that from happening. Yeah. Okay. Well, so the real big discussion here is the genophage, right? Because I think even the writers come around on the idea that the genophage is just the wrong move and like morally wrong to like decide that entire society has to like, what's the word? Like suffer the stillborn death of their children. Like 1 out of 100 is fucking gruesome. And like to decide the Krogan do not have the right to like perpetuate their species and effectively kill them. That being said, it is rather unclear about exactly what the cure is here on Saren's version of it. He is apparently like quote unquote breeding new Krogan, but the ones that we see are full grown, which I don't think happens overnight. So they must be like cloning them or something.
Like as much as this becomes a sort of buzzword in 2 and 3, like I get the feeling like the cure is some sort of like Reaper tech.
Oh, maybe. It could be.
And I feel like it would have been kind of an interesting choice to like discover that it's Reaper tech and then decide whether or not to keep it. Like,
yeah.
And like that affects sort of the outcome of the genophage, like whether you're using like,
yeah.
Like it would have been really cool if like you saved it this time around and then that just completely fucks you over later on.
That's interesting. Because part of the argument that if you're depending on which version of Renegade or Paragon you are, part of the argument you make to Rex is that this is not how the Krogan need to be saved by like becoming slaves to the Reapers. Yeah. And if this cure was Reaper tech, it was based off of Reaper technology that was going to subsume all of the Krogan's free will, then that argument makes a lot more sense. Because as it stands, at least by the point where we are when we have that conversation with Rex, we have no idea. You know, like it really could be a perfectly fine cure that would just save the Krogan species, and that we could maybe make it out of there with it, and it would be fine. We don't know one way or the other.
Yeah.
So it would be interesting to have presented that from that side. But like at the very least, all of those like in development Krogan that were like not full, like, you know, they hadn't fully come out and joined Saren yet. They're all in tubes somewhere. Probably counts as innocent civilians. So I think we definitely are still in war crime territory.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think an interesting way to have circumvented this particular moral quandary would have been to make it clear that these Krogan are like more like husks than they are Krogan.
Yeah.
That would have been that probably would have involved reskinning some of them and then having at least one scene where we see one of them and be like, man, this sure looks like the husk technology from Eden Prime.
Yeah, that actually would have been really cool.
Yeah, that seems like a really easy way to say, oh yeah, this is Reaper technology that's making this happen.
Like, honestly, I wish they'd use that sort of Reaper or the husk sort of thing for other species, because it feels a little weird that like only humans are singled out by the Geth to be huskified.
The response to that is that that's what happens in Mass Effect 3. That
Yeah, it is. I just wish I would have seen some of that in Mass Effect 1.
Yeah, but the story-based answer is that the Geth are attacking human worlds. And so we're seeing the husks from human colonies, because we're the ones who moved into the Terminus system right next to the Veil. And so we're the opportunity.
Okay, yeah, that just makes sense then.
And of course, from the Doyleist version of that is that they didn't want to model a whole other set of husks. But and I do like the fact, and just skipping ahead to 3, I love the fact that the various different species turn into different Reaper foot soldiers. And the difference between those is really cool. That being said, they definitely are insulting humans, because the husks are definitely the worst of those foot soldiers. Everything else is cooler than us. I feel a little bit insulted. Anyway,
I tried to make it up to us by making a human Reaper. So I mean,
that's true. That is true. Yeah. I guess we are not, humans are not useful if you subsume our free will, because we're like, our whole thing is that we're adaptable and like smart, I guess, and like capable of acting predictively. And so if you turn us into robots, that negates all of our specialist points. Like we put all of our points into adaptability and intelligence instead of.
I mean, they didn't even do anything with the Solarians. So
didn't they? Oh, I guess they didn't. Well, maybe they're even less. Yeah, there you go. Yeah, we're better than the Solarians. Okay. Is there anything else we want to cover in Shadowbroker Files, or still talk about obviously the big thing is that like later on we are going to cure the genophage.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a massive point of 3. And it's also a relatively large point in 2, where the effect that I got, or the impression I got, is that when they were writing Mass Effect 1, nobody had really thought about the genophage as being quite as evil as it was.
Oh yeah.
I think the writers didn't realize what a fuck up they'd made there. Not fuck up, but like what a big part of this, the moral landscape of the galaxy was in, and like this is a huge problem that the council has like perpetuated this genocide for like 100 or 400 years, right? Like it's a pretty raw deal.
Yeah. By
the time they got around to 3, the writers had all gone, oh, you know what? Maybe not so much with that. Okay, let's make a big plot into turning it around. So that maybe they just weren't.
I kind of wish we'd gotten a Solarian party member in Mass Effect 1, so that you could sort of have like that friction and like building that up as a bigger plot point.
Yeah.
In the first game, like having the Solarian and Rex just arguing back and forth.
And you'll get some of that in 4, in 2, because if you bring, or depending on how you do your party composition, but if you bring Morden to Tuchanka and he meets Rex, I believe they end up having a conversation about it, which is cool. So yeah, they were already starting to figure that out in 2, and then they really turned tail on it in 3. And I'm glad they did. I like the way that plot works out in the macro scale. I think that is a good way to run all of that. And it's just that it seems obvious to me that in 1 they didn't realize quite how bad that was. The writers, at least, they don't treat it with the same sort of moral abhorrence that you get later on from that. So time for us to move on to our character bracket.
Character bracket.
Oh, she's her voice actress from Farscape, so you should know her. At least the voice actress. She was Claudia Black, who's one of the regulars on Farscape. Yeah. She's one of the
very distinctive voice.
Yeah. I think this might have been me filling things out. So today we're talking Morinth versus Darozen Vosmore. Darozen Vosmore is one of the Admiralty Board of the Quarian fleet, who is one of the people presiding over Tali's judgment, a trial in Mass Effect 2, and apparently has a decent enough effect on 3 that she's got a pretty good entry in here. That being said, I can't quite remember anything about her. So She's apparently played by Claudia Black, who was on Farscape, which is one of those shows that everybody tells me that I'd love if I watched it, but I haven't. So sorry about that. Man, I feel bad. Like we're gonna have to throw her away because obviously I don't remember anything about her. Do you remember anything about her, Zach?
Not especially. Let me pull up her.
She gives you missions. Yeah, she gives you missions in 3 even. Yeah. She's one of like the like when you're helping out the Quarians in 3, she's one of the people who like gives you a mission to go do. Yeah, I don't really remember anything about her. I feel bad now putting her on this list. I really, really was trying to make it out to 64 for the thing. I feel a little bad for her. I like Quarians. I like her. I like Claudia Black, I guess. I don't know. She's got a cool voice.
Apparently she's like one of the stand-ins for Tally if she dies in Mass Effect 2.
Oh, she shows up on the villains wiki, so apparently she's not everybody remembers her so fondly, I guess. I'm not watching a 7-minute YouTube video on this. Okay, well, I guess that means it's probably Morinth. Do you want to talk about Morinth real quick?
So Morinth is Samara's daughter.
Yeah, the thing is, man, I wouldn't give it to Morinth under almost any other circumstances because I think she's a pretty lackluster character overall.
I think she's an interesting choice that isn't explored much just because she's
so optional.
So obviously the evil choice.
Yeah. So Morinth is, oh God, no, actually we get into the whole stupid fucking sorry vampire thing.
Oh, yes.
I feel like we almost need to have a guest on just to talk about how fucked the whole, okay, we're not going to God damn it. I fucking hate this plot line so much. I forgot how much I hated it. Okay, we're gonna have to get into it. So Samara is an Asari. Apparently, sometimes in certain bloodlines of the Asari, if 2 Asari get together instead of mating with other people, other species, if it's 2 Asari, they have a higher chance of having something called an Ardot Yakshi. The Ardot Yakshi are basically vampires who, when they have sex with people, the other person dies. And it apparently feels really good, and they get addicted to it, and they murder people. And Samara's companion quest in 2 is that you have to go help her kill one of her daughters, who is Morinth. And that being said, I do like the mission for killing Morinth. It's kind of fun. Morinth, in that sense, since she's got that kind of slinky, sexy, evil thing going on. Like that's her whole vibe, which I could totally get behind. And it is one of the places where if you just fuck up a conversation decision, you can end up getting killed by her, which is kind of cool. But we're not going to delve into how fucked the whole Ardot Yakshi thing is. We're just gonna skip over that because that's a whole other conversation. And then one of the options in that particular conversation is that she. If you want to, you can kill Samara and take Morinth with you as your companion from there on out, which is kind of cool. I like the fact that they allow you to swap out companions at that point. I think she can even make it all the way through to the end of the game. I don't think that she doesn't automatically die during the suicide mission. Yeah, she can use.
She does, however, not make it out of Mass Effect 3.
Yes. Yeah, she'll show up as one of the Asari Reaper creatures. I forget what they're called, sirens or something. No, banshees. They're banshees.
Yes,
which is a neat Easter egg if you choose to go that way. I kind of want to. Technically, she is a companion. I like her side quest. Man, if she was faced up with almost anybody else except for a character that I literally cannot remember literally anything about, I think I might not give it to Morinth. I'm almost tempted to give it to Zaro Zhen just because I feel bad that I don't remember anything about her.
No, I think in this case, I feel like Morinth has at least a little more, like, she's definitely more memorable than...
She is memorable, but like, yeah.
Like...
I literally am like, maybe by the time that if we give it to Zaro Zhen, by the time we get back around here, maybe we'll be able to talk about her for real, is my thought. Because maybe we'll have seen her by then.
I don't remember her being that important. Like,
but like, I don't like Morinth. Like, I like her vibe. I like her side story, but I don't really want to see her go on. I think that Samara is so much more interesting a character that you should never swap Morinth out for.
I agree.
For her. Samara is the clear choice.
Literally, the only reason to take Morinth is to get the
achievement,
the ability from her that you can unlock by having certain character members like loyal. I think.
Okay, sure.
And you get like domination or something from Morinth. All you have to do to get that is basically like bring her on board, save her, and then revert back to a previous save file.
Yeah.
And you'll have unlocked it.
It's an interesting plot point. I don't remember anything about her voice actress. I think she's fine. She's wearing the same Commando outfit, fetish outfit that they show elsewhere. I just so hate the Ardok Yakshi idea as a story building concept. I think it's totally fucked in like 5 different ways. I honestly would like prefer not to talk about her again. And I feel bad that I put because it was my choice to put Daro Zhen on here, and I don't remember anything about her. I'd almost like to give her a second chance out of that. But if you want to go with Morinth, then we can go with Morinth.
You want to do a coin toss, because I think we're pretty evenly split here.
Okay. I want to, before we do that, we're going to see on who they would be up against. Okay, so whoever takes this is going to be up against Nif2 Cal. And that says to me that Nif2 Cal is going to go on, because I don't think either. The only reason why I keep change around these days is to use as screwdrivers for camera gear. Okay. You want Morinth, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so
heads.
call it. Yeah,
Heads.
call heads. It's heads.
All right.
Okay, giving it to Morinth. Okay. I also really want us to like not have always the companions.
Well, I think it'll help when she goes up against Nif2 Cal next time.
Yeah. Okay, next week is Shiara, which is the Sorry Consort, and the Thorian, which will be an interesting matchup.
Oh yeah.
I actually don't know which way that would go. That doesn't have an obvious answer to me. Actually, the answer to that is literally about something that will happen in Mass Effect 3, because somebody in our Discord pointed out that apparently the Asari Consort is indoctrinated in 3, which I don't remember at all, and I couldn't confirm on the wiki if that is true or not. But that would be an interesting plot point that I would love to see.
That would be, yeah.
But I don't remember if that is actually true or not. It almost makes me want to go load up an old Mass Effect 3 save just to confirm for myself, because I know where she is. She's in the casino in the Citadel thing. So I could confirm that, I think. Why are we talking about next week's thing? Or like we should talk about that next week.
We're robbing ourselves of content.
Whether or not I need to like do some research, because that would be interesting. Anyway, okay. All right. Well, in that case, we will see you guys next week.
All right. Until next time.
All right. Bye. Thank you for listening to the N7 Project. If you would like to read the upcoming playthrough roadmap, there is a link in the show notes below. We can be found on Twitter as @N7Project, at our website, masseffectpodcast.com, or via our Discord, scottpaladin.com/Discord. If you'd like to support the podcast, honestly, the easiest way to be to write us a review on Apple Podcasts, Podchaser, or your podcatcher of choice. We read every one of those, and it gives us a real boost every time, and it helps people find the podcast. Or if you want to give monetary support, all funds to our Patreon, patreon.com/monsterpod, will also go to supporting this podcast. Mass Effect, its associated characters, sounds, plot points, whatever, are copyright by some giant faceless corporation. The N7 Project was produced and edited by me, Scott Paladin, and hosted by myself and my best friend, Zach Jakeways. Audio is copywritten 2022, Scott Paladin. This has been a Library of Cursed Knowledge production.